Northeastern Oklahoma is known for many things. Longhorn cattle paddocked in the same place with buffalo, fantastic barbecue, and severe weather. A thunderhead could turn into a tornado at any minute. How you doing, Ben? We had fair weather for round number 3, but it was 105 degrees ambient and 160 degrees cockpit temperature. Now, you know me, I like to get down and dirty on the track where there's racing happening. This is Dodge Viper Cup.
It's the 4th round of the Dodge Viper Cup once again at Hallett Motor Racing Circuit in Jennings, Oklahoma. Another hot and sultry day. I'm Greg Creamer along with Tom Natchew. Qualifying unfolded earlier, but these were the conditions for qualifying. Teeming rain, and it certainly jumbled things up in the grid. Ben Keating struggling in the 3rd round, taking full advantage, putting it on pole with Richie Hearn alongside. Keith Burgess and Jim Stout, solid efforts in wet qualifying as well. Same in row 3 with Kurt Solberger and Michael Von Quillick. The story, row 4, Stephen Cole Smith, but Ryan Shims, who won the 3rd round here at Hallett, starting back in the pack. Then Connie Bogan and A.J. Morgan in row 5 and row 6. Once again, Portia Belows, the qualifying time, didn't get one put in for this race either. She will start at the back of the pack. Here is the lineup. The wheeling lights are red. When they go out, we go racing. Round 4 about to unfold. Here at Hallett, we're green. Keating, a good start. And a nice move by Shims, already on the move. Keating heading down into that first turn. Hearn alongside. Keating to the inside. Keating, a big wiggle. Oh, and he's sideways, and he's off. Boy, what a piece of evasive by Burgess.
And not a bad job by Jim Stout missing that whole thing, too. Jim Stout lit him up on the front straightaway and the standing start, and very nearly got collected by Keating on his way off the track. Don't know what happened to Keating. Just a loss of control. Let's take another look from this angle, Greg.
Well, there you go, on board with Von Quillich, and I wonder if Keating just tried to pinch that to stay inside of Hearn and just lost it.
Well, we'll have to check down with the pits. Meanwhile, man on the move, Ryan Shims, the number 67 car, already making a big problem for that big purple Viper.
Absolutely, that's Jim Stout, and Shims takes a look at the inside, deep on the brakes, down into this left-hander, and he is through. That puts him into 3rd behind Hearn and Keith Burgess. So Shims very much aware, I think, you can't let drivers of those two's quality get away.
That's true, and Jim Stout does a good job by giving him room on the inside there. He wanted no part of it, and he knew that Shims would be coming. Everybody on the grid knew that Shims would be coming. As you can see, they've already started to pull out a bit of a margin on Shims as they come onto the straightaway for the first time at speed.
But you saw on the track map when we were on board with Shims where he was on the track, half a lap, 8th to 3rd. Not bad.
Not bad at all. It's one of those Commerce Day moments, Chamber of Commerce Day moments. There's Portia Belows in her view. She's starting to make up room, and one of her victims is Keating. So manages to get by Keating, and Keating's going to take it right back down at the end of the front straightaway. Here's a man in a mission's going to go from 10th and try to get back in the front.
On board here with A.J. Morgan coming up on the back of Mike Von Quillich, and down and underneath. Morgan had a very good race going in round 3, then had some of those overheating issues just because of the temps here. And by the way, folks, the rain cleared up. It's still hot. It is humid.
If anything, it's hotter with all the humidity that was on the ground one time. Now it's in the ambient air temperature. But these teams have struggled through it yesterday. As you can see, A.J. Morgan very motivated. He was another victim of qualifying. Didn't really have the right equipment or the time to get it on, so he's qualifying well back. Meanwhile, his contemporary in age, Ryan Shims, now takes another look down the inside and's got Burgess under control.
He is flying. Shims absolutely determined to get to the front of this one in a hurry. Great look back. That's how close it is. And now Burgess, not exactly done, showing the nose. Down to this last turn, he's inside. They are side by side. Burgess noses ahead, comes right back, and Shims realizes I'm in a race, so Shims goes to the outside.
These guys are side by side once again down into turn number 1. Verge is not going to roll over. He'll get there first. Shims gives him room to race.
And Verges doesn't slam the door on the exit and drift across. Gives him room too. These two guys, it's very aggressive racing, Tom, but it's clean. That's a lot of respect on the track.
You can tell these guys had a hot dog or two together before this race because they're racing each other clean, and it is really exciting. And look at Jim Stout joins the back of this group now.
Well, that little bit of cut and thrust when you're side by side like that, that's ultimately slows you down relative to somebody running by themselves. And Stout has taken full advantage. Great onboard shot here. Shims trying to work Verges.
Verges, a good bit of driving by Keith Verges to not to let the young lion through, and raced him hard for 3 corners, and now has pulled out a 3-car gap. Shims giving that Viper some room to breathe, and he'll re-engage, I guarantee it.
And as you pointed out, right behind you, as we go on board with Shims once again, closing up on Verges, you've got Stout and Morgan have joined this really now a 4-car battle for this second spot. And boy, the guy who's loving this is Richie Hearn, looking in his mirror, seeing these guys battle like that, and it's given him the opportunity to break free just a little bit. But Verges, boy, it's like when Shims came by, Tom, it lit the fire for Verges, and he now is not only back in second, but drawing away a little bit from Shims in third. Hearn leads it. We'll be back. Welcome back to Hallett Motor Racing Circuit. It is cooking out. It is just that hot. Everybody feeling it right now. One place it's really cooking is on the track. Some tremendous racing unfolding right there. Good look at Keith Verges, and coming up hard astern is Ryan Shims, really starting to heap on the pressure in this battle for the second spot. And Shims really just guessed wrong in qualifying, didn't he, Tom?
No, he thought he was going to go on a drying track, so he was out there on dry tires, but it never actually dried out enough for him to actually get a lap in, so he's had to be quick and thrust his way up through the field. This is just about where he'd be satisfied to be, but I'll tell you something, Verges not making it easy.
They hit, they've just made contact. You were talking about Verges not making it easy. Shims getting a run into the right-hander, got up alongside, and then Verges closed up, they touched, and both of them losing big ground as a result. Now you take a look, there is Jim Stout, who benefits and moves by both of them at this point, bringing A.J. Morgan right with him. So Stout liking that. See if we can go on board and just see, there's Verges with the spin.
You know, you see those things when they happen at the apex. Right here, I mean, whose corner was that? Or was that just one of those racing deals? I'm going to call it a racing deal. And look at A.J. Morgan able to avoid that. So did Jim Stout. So the deck is shuffled to Greg. Again, Greg, here we go.
Jim Stout up into second, A.J. Morgan in third, and then you can see Von Quillick behind him, and coming up big time is Keating, but boy, he is fast, loose right now. The back end of that Viper all over the place. He is just throwing it around, and watching right now, it certainly looks to me like A.J. Morgan is starting to close up on Stout.
Well, here he is, moving right in on Stout as we get this great onboard shot. There at the apex, chooses not to go through, but I think he's got speed on him coming onto this straight bit.
Well, this is the battle for second. You're looking at second and third right now. Von Quillick hoping this one doesn't end well, and he might be able to benefit. Looking back at Jim Stout, at the incredibly persistent A.J. Morgan, really giving it a go here. A.J. again thought about it, realized, nope, not going to quite work into this last turn. Now it's about getting the drive onto the front straight, and it looks like he maybe got a good drive coming on here. Looks to the inside.
He's going to keep it behind and try to carry that momentum up the hill. Remember the passing zone on the downhill. You can see he's already lining up for that, thinking about it.
Oh, when he's through, boy, did he nail that one. And for this young man, that was a great pass, and this is a young driver making a comeback.
Well, me and my dad, we did a lot of racing since 1997, and then I took about a 4-year break to focus on school. I'm a kinesiology major at University of Illinois, and we heard that the Viper was making an ACRX, so we're like, oh wow, we gotta try and get one of those and get out there. And then we heard they're doing a spec series. Well, we don't have any sponsors for the team right now, so we heard that all these other guys were gonna run sticker tires for qualifying in the race. And we were out there this morning for practice for the first session, and then we're like, well, we're going to have to sit out this second session to save those tires a little bit to be able to compete with these other guys. It worked out pretty well. We're sitting 5th right now out of 10, and the times look pretty good. We're right there, and we'll see what we can do on the start, see if I can run with these guys.
And he is doing a phenomenal job, currently 2nd. Meanwhile, on board with Ben Keating running 5th, looking back at Ryan Shims trying to come back after his little contretemps with Mr. Verges. And Shims applying some pressure, but Keating seems to be up for it. There's your order: Morgan, Stout, Von Quillick, Keating, and then Shims. And look at this move. Keating down to the inside of Von Quillick. Oh, and he got a little sideways, and Von Quillick, a beautiful piece of driving to give him room when he needed to, but that puts him into the grasp of Shims.
Well, he saw him coming and gave him the room, but then you had to give him a little extra room with some right hand down. On board now with Ben Keating as we see Von Quillick coming up very fast and hard.
And that is Shims right behind here as they head down into this final turn. And there is Keating. Let's go back, take another look at this.
Well, as you can see, Keating gets a little bit squirrely, and Von Quillick saw it coming, gave him the room to race. There's a hot dog, another hot dog bought in the paddock right there. These guys are going to be talking about this one for some time to come.
Absolutely. Now back to this battle between Stout and Keating, the battle for 3rd. And look at the run that he gets. Almost got into the back of Stout last second. Just was able to pull it to the inside. And now that gives him the inside for the left-hander. Boy, I'd like to think that he planned it like that, but boy, did he get a run. You were talking about the difficult problem being the intermittent ones, especially when it's putting fluid on tires of a high horsepower sports car like a Viper.
Well, that's what we're getting from the pits, is there is some intermittent fluid going down on those tires. So tough break for Ben Keating. He's got no choice. He's got to drive through it. And wow, it is affecting his car dynamically in almost every axis.
And again, sideways right there on the turn-in. So he is definitely feeling it, but he's dealing with it. You talked earlier about doing some ice racing in one of the earlier shows. Well, basically, he's doing that right now on hot pavement. Look at that, carrying the beautiful slides and not giving up speed.
You know, he's obviously used to driving a loose car, or likes driving it, because he's driving the wheels off that thing, and inexplicably nobody behind him is getting caught up in that fluid. I guess it's touching his tires. He's dealing with it. What a job.
But up front, Richie Hearn leading away 13 laps down. A lot of history here in the Hallett Motor Racing Circuit area nearby Jennings, Oklahoma, going back to the Frontier days where there was some intense battling going on. Back then, there is here once again, and we have been focusing on the exciting progress that Ben Keating has been making as he's working around the track, but even more so, look at this, Jim Stout, that beautiful purple Viper, he has got huge pursuit right now from Von Quillick, all over him, and Von Quillick now down to the inside, and he gets a run. And speaking of runs, Ryan Shims taking advantage of that as well, and he goes through a double pass. Stout losing 2 spots on the same straight.
Well, Jim Stout didn't see that one coming, didn't realize the 67 car was coming with him, had to make room, and now he's going to observe the whole thing from the rear. Look at Von Quillick now, starting to make progress on the 33 car of Ben Keating.
Well, I wonder with Keating spending so much time sideways if he may have just abused those tires. As good as those Michelins are, you have them sideways that much, even though it isn't necessarily his fault with that potential coolant leak we're hearing about. You're still abusing them, and I wonder if he maybe just didn't use them up in this heat.
Well, he's certainly doing his best. If he hasn't done it already, he's doing his best too. There's nothing like a loose car to use up those rear tires. Tons of power, over 600 horsepower from these Viper ACRX race cars, and they will turn the tires.
Oh, and he's off! Back on, but sorry, Tom, but just for a moment there, he ran wide, and that may be exactly what we're talking about, just not much grip left in those.
Don't forget, inside the cockpit, there's temperatures around 160 degrees. We're using up a lot of man here, not just tires.
Now Keating hard on the brakes. Big wobble right there, but he managed, it looked like, to hang on to it. Yep. But oh, and a wobble behind you see Von Quillick getting it all crossed up, and that forces Shims into the dirt once again, drops his right side tires. It is getting fast and furious here late in the going here in this 4th round of the championship, and everybody seems to be pushing the absolute edge, like you said, as Shims knifes through and underneath Von Quillick. It might be man as much as machine.
Well, when you're racing identical cars, momentum means a lot, and Von Quillick with a big lift there. I don't know if we got some fluid onto his tires from Keating's car, but that big lift gave Shims the opportunity to go by, but at least a half a mile later.
Yeah, you lose the momentum, but then as you said, with some 600 horsepower, if you can get on the gas just that much sooner, it pays off. Shim's doing that absolutely to perfection and able to knife through. So now he's the one who's going to be dealing with the back deck of Keating's very quick Viper at this point. And you can see Von Quillick dropping off just a little bit. And Shim's, boy, I tell you what, this is an impressive young man.
Yeah, and now Keating looks in his rearview mirror and thinks, oh, brother, now we got to deal with this guy. Meanwhile, we'll look back from Shim's car and look at Von Quillick. He seems to have gathered up the car and is actually making up a little bit of room as he looks back to Jim Stout. There's your margin. Great racing in the middle of the pack, Greg.
Oh, and Keating has gone off, Tom. He's dropped those right side tires, came back across to the inside of the track and in traffic.
Oh, man, it's the worst kind of spin where you're completely out of control. Jim Stout did an unbelievable job of missing the number 33 car we affectionately refer to as acid colored because it's got all of the different colors of the rainbow in it. Let's take another look. This is on board Ben Keating. Just loses traction, big loop around here. He's a passenger, and watch this. Right there.
Oh!
Stout manages to get by, but that plum crazy paint, if they'd have put another coat on that beautiful Viper, there would have been contact there.
And watching everything going on with these Vipers, John Archer and the Archer family have had a long history with Vipers and now with Viper Days.
We've had, you named a couple, Bob Woodhouse, we got Rob Foster, Jason Descallos, Fred Roberts. The list goes on of people that have come out of our series. So there's 3 different levels of playgrounds that you can get into. Again, a lot of the people, if you're already a racer, you know, we welcome you to come on in. We have full professional instructors. We can literally take people from 0 all the way to World Challenge in no time. It all depends on what your talent level is and how much you want to invest in it. We've had a lot of people over the years that have thought they were doing it cheaper by having their own truck and trailer and doing their own crew and whatnot. We've actually saved them 30 to 40% on paper, and they jump at it. And you know, now we take care of anywhere from 6 to 11 vehicles per event. And again, they fly in, drive them, fly home. We take care of everything else. And this goes for the total novice that has a new Viper ACR that wants to come to the track. He can come on out, pay his money, and get in the show just like everybody else.
And the connection the Archer brothers have to Vipers is just absolutely storied. Bobby in club racing, Tommy, you remember the success he had in Trans Am, all under the guidance of John and Mike, and now John's involvement here is superb. And there is Richie Hearn, who has climbed behind the wheel of one of these amazing Vipers and has just set sail in this one on board. That's the view you like when you're a race car driver, nobody in front of you knowing you're P1.
Well, no way Richie Hearn could have the whole story about what's happening behind him. But believe me, Richie, you're glad you're out front where it's nice and safe, because it's been absolutely crazy. We knew that this series was going to be exciting, but holy smoke, what a day we've had today at Hallett, a challenging race course with an absolutely magnificent race car, and you got to comment about the durability. I mean, they've been beating the daylights out of these cars for 3 full days, and as we've said several times, it is so hot here, you quite literally can fry an egg on pit lane.
Yeah, it's just incredible, and what these cars have been able to deal with and still put out this kind of performance is absolutely spectacular. Then you put a pilote, the quality of a Richie Hearn behind the wheel, and you see what these things are capable of, and this is a great racetrack.
It really is. You know, it's turned out to be a great venue. None of us had been here for a while, but it hasn't changed much since it was built in the early 70s. And of course, the Connie Stevens and her son have done a great job preparing it. Richie Hearn ahead of an exciting AJ Morgan and Ryan Shims. We'll be back.
The history of survival in the frontier days, well remembered here in the Jennings, Oklahoma area, with some wonderful monuments and opportunities to peruse the history of people who have gone before. And you think about the temperatures and the humidity we're dealing with today, imagine that without air conditioning and all of the features we're used to. And then climb in behind the wheel of a very competitive, fast, high horsepower race car as we get the 1 lap signal to go, and you know what these drivers have been dealing with.
Richie Hearn has the spinnaker up and he's just enjoying one last lap sail around. But really the focus has been on these 2 young drivers, AJ Morgan and Ryan Shims. They're racing guys that are a lot senior to them, but they are standouts, and I think I'm excited about the rest of the year.
Boy, the way this racing has unfolded, absolutely. And let's keep in mind, Michael Van Quillick had a great third-place finish in the third round of the championship, looking to be perhaps fourth here. So obviously some serious players, and we've had some other guys who've been fast on. We just aren't going to see the finish, or going to see the finish a bit back because of various issues. So it is going to be a great season. And Richie Hearn coming in here, he is the savvy veteran, maybe not in these cars, but in terms of racing. And even with that big lead, look at those glances to the mirrors. He wants to make sure he brings this one home.
Yeah, he's got a good margin there as he looks a couple of times, and every race car driver is going to do that. But the checkered flag for Richie Hearn, our guest driver. I'm really pleased that he came out today and came to terms with his Viper car. Here's the race to the end for second and third.
And it is Morgan with Shims in tow, and Van Quillick watching one bobble here, and we've seen it happen in other laps. And it could change up. Looks like everybody dials it up nicely through this time onto the front straight. Morgan brings it home in second with Shims in third, Van Quillick a close fourth. And here are the final standings. Hearn, Morgan, Shims, Van Quillick, and Stout brings it home in fifth. And there's Keith Verges, a mechanical issue, a broken suspension due to that contact earlier on. Here are the points, and Shims continues to lead Keating and Stout, with Van Quillick and Verges filling out the rest of the order. With that, let's get down to Victory Circle and Tom.
Richie Hearn, you came into this weekend saying that you might just get a win out of it. Made it happen.
Yeah, today was, you know, it was the biggest difference is I got a good start. Yesterday I kind of flubbed the start, and today I just dropped the clutch and went, and I was able to pass him on the outside, and then I think he just pinched it off a little bit and spun, and fortunately it gave me a huge gap, and then I just kind of just looked after my car after that, so beat the heat.
Ryan Shims said in round number 3 that qualifying was the most important thing. A little bit of practice this morning in the rain must have helped.
Yeah, I mean, this track's so tight. I mean, you can maybe pass 1 or 2 cars, you know, but I don't know what happened to him in qualifying. I don't know if he got his rain tires on at the right time or not, but, you know, I was expecting him to be up front, but it definitely made my job easier that he wasn't.
Richie Hearn picks one off, age 39. Not bad. Well, when the cool shirt works, you end up looking like AJ here. He looks cool as a cucumber. How you doing?
Oh, I'm pretty tired after that. Wow, that 30 minutes felt like an eternity, or 22 laps, whatever we had to run. I don't know, my brakes were pretty much shot by the end, and I was just holding on for dear life. I saw Ryan coming up behind me, and I just had to hold on for dear life there to get a hold of second here, so that was fun.
Did you think that when you came to your first Dodge Viper Cup weekend that you'd be pulling off a podium in your second race?
I really didn't expect it. I just wanted to be respectable and run competitive, and then I show up here the second day after some major overheating problems for the first race, and here I am, second place, so that's great.
Well, Ryan Shims, anybody who thinks a race car driver is not an athlete's got another thing coming when they look at your performance.
You know, this is a very hard-fought race. We had a little issue in qualifying. It was raining, and we didn't have our rain setup ready. Started at the back of the field, had an awesome start, made it up to third or fourth. Running great, had a good battle with Keith Verges going on. I think we tangled in, I forget the turn number, but we both kind of got tangled up and stopped. The rest of the field passes, I think I went from 8th to 3rd to last, back up to 3rd throughout the whole race. That was an incredible race. It is hot out here. Wow.
I think that says it all. It was scorching. Not just the temperatures, but the competition on the track bodes well for the rest of the season for the Dodge Viper Cup. And from the Plains to the Poconos, rounds 5 and 6 coming up from Long Pond, Pennsylvania. For Tom Natchew, I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks for joining us. Take care, everybody.